Hi, and welcome back to She Who Unbecomes podcast. I'm trying something new this week. I'm doing this in a video format. I had recently recorded my podcast on YouTube, and then when I started writing for Substack, I decided to just do audio for a while, and it worked really well. And now I'm going to mix it up a little bit just so that we can have a little bit of eye-to-eye contact instead of always listening to me. Now you can see and listen. So today, I want to talk about what no one tells you about in midlife and the persona that you have been carrying, I believe, becomes eventually impossible to hold. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong or you're failing, but simply because the deeper self, and I'm going to call it the unconscious because essentially that's what it is asking for your attention, wants to take the lead. And I believe that alone influences so many things that happen during our midlife transition. I believe that's why it is called a crisis for so many, because it is asking you to look at something deeper within, not from the surface anymore, not from blaming anybody, but taking a different level of responsibility for yourself, your worthiness, who you are, who you want to be in this next phase of your life. And yes, it is uncomfortable. And the really interesting thing that I have found is that most women don't recognize this is happening. This shift is happening. They ride the tail of the emotions, the emotional roller coaster ride that happens in menopause, perimenopause, and just hope to go back to their old life. And some do. I certainly didn't notice the emotional, spiritual aspects of perimenopause and all the changes that was asking of me right away. But eventually I did, and it was worth every tear I shed. So life begins to look different on the inside at this phase, this stage of your life. And we often will carry this mask of being functional and reliable and composed for so long. But on the inside, something feels off. Sometimes it's quiet, persistent, and uncomfortable. We are going to talk about why it is so important to pay attention to these cues that are always whispering below the surface. I call it the persona and just a direct knowing that's deep within you. So yes, I do have notes and I'm going to refer to them a lot. So bear with me if I pause and stare at my notes for a little bit. Here's the one thing that I really want to make clear today is the fact that I really don't believe that midlife is a crisis. Now, does that mean some people let it be a crisis or step into the crisis of midlife? Yeah, I think they do. I think they continue to look on the outside for answers and solutions, and they project what they're not willing to look at within them to others. And it becomes so loud. Often, women make drastic changes in their life at this time. A big one, well known, well documented, is divorce. Now, I am not here to say that that isn't something a woman should do. I am here to say that we all do change at this phase in our life. And I personally have felt that, wondering if this is the place for me to stay in a marriage, to stay in the life that I've created. And I ultimately decided it was. It was worth it to go deeper within and ask myself a ton of questions about who I have been being up to this point in my life. So I don't think that we are in a stage of instability. I wouldn't call it that, although it probably looks like that. And maybe that's what you want to call it, but I don't think it is instability. I think it's essentially a moment for you, for all of us, to stop pretending we're fine. Because it is a transition. And I know that some women don't feel a thing as they go through this point in their life. It was a dramatic initiation for me, and I know it is for a lot of women. But here is the absolute gift of it all of it, is the truth of who you really are supposed to step into, is just begging for you to hear it. Let's talk a little bit about this internal shift. It took me a while to realize what was really happening, and I used a lot of projection, and I blamed a lot. I pursued my shamanic training because I wanted to look deeper within, and it worked. And then I went on and got a coaching training, which was absolutely phenomenal because I noticed and still am unwrapping the part of me who became the victim. And I know I didn't want to live like that anymore. So through a gradual shift, a lot of unpacking, a lot of journaling, and frankly, a lot of crying, I noticed in my own silence, and it took a lot of silence because I was unwrapping patterns, beliefs that at some point in my life, I decided were true. And when I went through perimenopause and I got through this initiation and still am, I realized that I didn't need to sacrifice myself for everybody else. And it is so conditioned into us to do that. Now, I'm not saying we don't give, we don't do for others. But this subtle sacrifice that often women will make, and I'll even go so far as to call it self-sabotage, is so subtle. And until we allow ourselves to open our awareness to it, we don't see it. But yet, there is an inner world that is restless. Maybe you have felt that. This restlessness isn't anxiety, and you don't need anxiety medications to change it. You do need a pause. You do need silence. And you have to be willing to look at all the things that you have brushed under the rug, that you have termed to be bad, not good. And you are afraid to look at. And this is done through a lot of self-compassion. And I believe that this is the perfect time to start to nourish yourself in a lot of ways. Because I think there is an unlived part of yourself. Desires that we have yet to allow ourselves to experience and have that are knocking on our door. And this whisper will get louder and louder and louder. And you can keep suppressing it. You can keep pushing it down and calling it bad and being afraid of it. You can do that. And I know a lot of people who do. But I'm speaking to the woman who understands at some level she has outgrown a part of herself and she's ready to step in to this next phase of her life as the queen of her life. So before we step into that part of ourself, which is the next part of what I want to talk about, I want to just call out some things that I personally experienced and may resonate with you. And I want to also say that there is a collective unconsciousness around the persona that women carry throughout a large part of their life. And so few women question it. And I am begging you to look at it. But here's some of the things. The identities that we carry around, often unconsciously, without knowing and without ever pausing to pay attention to them. One is we are determined to keep the peace because anything else is simply uncomfortable. And we want to personalize it. We want to hold it all. We want to hold everything together. That may be in our personal life. It also may be in our career or professional life. The other thing that I see often in women, and I so experienced this, was avoiding being too much. This is a big one, and it still makes me a little bit uncomfortable. They're not true for everyone, of course. But I want to call these out because this is a moment in our life to actually walk through this initiation and let the fire burn some of these old habits and beliefs off and to see what's really underneath. Here's another really good one, performing gratitude. Now, I know that gratitude is a big thing to practice, and I truly believe in it. And I journal about it when I feel it at a heart soulful level. I do not practice gratitude just to practice gratitude. I think that is bullshit. And I think to sit down and force yourself to journal about gratitude is a false positive. Unless it is an intimate, heartfelt, soulful practice that almost brings you to tears when you think about the things that you are grateful for in your life. There is a difference. I don't get why we just blindly do this. That's not what it's meant to be. It is an amazing experience. Make it that. Staying predictable. This is another one, right? Like, oh, we should be consistent. We should be predictable. We need to be reliable. And there's a level of that in our life that's true, right? So people can trust us. But to a fault, to a point where we don't feel like we're being ourselves and we are denying a part of ourselves. And I'm going to speak so freaking loud about this because I constantly get nagged from people to be consistent. And I am not an inconsistent person. When I am determined and I'm going to do something in my life, I'm very consistent. If it feels like it's coming from this deeper knowing instead of expectation from others. I don't play that game anymore. And I think it keeps us small. And I think we can be inconsistent whenever frickin' want to be inconsistent. And life is not going to fall apart because my inconsistency doesn't speak to who I really am as a human. All it does is it gnaws at others' inability to predict you. And I am a stand for that. And I can be consistent when I choose to be consistent. Okay, so let's move on and talk about the deeper authentic self is never content with performance, and it knows. It deeply knows. The deeper self knows when the ego is trying to run the show. It's not very loud. That deep intuition that is so often spoke of, and that deep inner knowing, doesn't scream and shout. It is subtle. It gets louder when we practice trusting it. When we begin to allow ourselves to hear that, we grow, we expand, and the old ways can no longer survive. It just begins to happen. And it's a really exciting time in our life. Carl Jung calls it the rise in the unconscious. So we start to see the sides of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we've hid from and that we've termed as bad or not good. And we simply don't want other people to see. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens when the old self starts to die. Women leave their career, maybe they go through a divorce, and they start to feel this desire within rising. Now, the desire I am speaking about is not that outside desire for something. It's an inside desire. And the thing is it often feels uncomfortable. It feels dangerous to pursue. And here's why it is not. And this is a huge part of my retreats where women can experience this deeper knowing and access this desire within them, whatever it is, and feel safe. I often hear women say, to avoid accessing their own desire, I don't know what I want, yet when I work with them, they always do. I feel off. This is true. Absolutely. I know that there is more. They've gotten to this point in their life, and they know there is more waiting for them, and they are ready to step into it. I'm tired, but I can't slow down. Of course, this is strong conditioning. It's a strong belief that can be difficult to unbelieve, but it is possible and it is true. And women feel like they're not themselves anymore. And this is so what I experienced, to the point where I avoided going out in public very much because I didn't feel like I was who I was anymore. And at some level, I didn't know who I was. And when I joined my coaching program is really when I started to realize who I really am. And I'm still uncovering that with great joy instead of fear. Ladies, the truth is you do know what you want. You just haven't had a place, a safe place, where your desire is allowed to exist. Desire is not dangerous. It is not discontent. It is not bad. It is not wrong. It is direction. And when your desire wakes up, you can push it back down, but it's going to keep nudging at you for sure. Your tolerance, your patience, your willingness to pretend, all fades. And this desire that's knocking at your door, where the whisper is getting a little bit louder, cannot be reasoned with. It just needs your attention, and maybe a lot of it. So I wrote down it's discomfort because it bumps up against everything we think we are supposed to be or do. It is a compass. And it will start to reveal itself if you're willing to listen to it. So for some time, I have done these one-on-one sessions called desire sessions. And I work one-on-one with a woman for 90 minutes. And here are some things, and then I do some continued work with them, of course, to start to embody their desire. But that's something that I'm not really going to discuss in this podcast, but I would like to share with you what a lot of women will say after they've gone through my desire sessions and they begin to really embody their desire. They'll say that before they stepped into their desire and they started to let it unwrap, that they didn't feel like themselves anymore. They lost their spark, their drive. They told people they were fine, but they weren't. And they felt like they couldn't share it with anybody. It felt foreign. It felt unacceptable. And they really felt like they were tired of being the strong one all the time. And many of these I really resonated with and heard the women speaking these. These women are successful women that feel this. And we have this expectation of women who have held it all together. They've had a successful career. They've raised a family. Their marriage looks great on the outside. But inside, they feel hollow. They feel unseen. They feel like life has been unlived. So this is a threshold. This is a moment where women can step out of the life that she has been performing, and that it is, and into the life she's actually meant to live. And please hear me when I say that there is nothing wrong with you or the life you've lived. Please, 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 please don't be or feel guilt or shame. We have all gotten to this point in our life, and we have done what we have done. We have felt what we have felt, and it has served us up to this point until you feel this moment. Every room she walks into has expectations of her. She's the one who has held it all together, the comforting one, the dependable one, the strong one, the one everyone turns to. The thing is, most women don't choose these roles. They inherit them from their mothers, from culture, sometimes from decades of being praised for being the reliable one, the grounded one, the one who never asks for anything. And it happens so quietly we don't even notice it. Then one day, you do. This is not failure. This is not weakness. This is not wrong. This is not bad. This is not shameful. It's conditioning. Deep, generational, feminine conditioning. And now is the time to wake up and change that. This absolutely is a turning point if you choose. If some of the things I have shared are there and you're afraid, you don't know what is on the other side. You haven't really looked at that side of you for quite some time. It's okay. It is very common. But please pay attention if you feel a deeper truth rising within you. Even if you don't have words for it, you can't really explain it. It's there, but you don't know how to put it into words. Here's the thing. Even in my desire sessions, if you choose to participate in one of those, you do not need more advice. You don't need a list of steps. You don't need a free PDF to tell you how to take care of this and how to journal this. You don't need someone to fix you. You are perfect the way you are. And you are allowed to speak your desire. Share it out loud in a safe place with someone you trust. And speak the truth that you've been avoiding. This is a crossing point. It can be intimate, quiet, and soul-shifting for sure. So why did I create the desire sessions? A is a great way for women to get to know me a little bit, to sort of start to step into my world and how I help women in midlife go through this initiation in a one-on-one session. And it's really an introduction into my retreat world, which is the biggest part of my business. Here are the reasons why I created them. Not to coach you into a better version of who you already are, but to give you the space to step across that line from who you have been into who you're being called to be. And I really believe that deep down, every woman knows when she is standing in front of this moment, this crossroads, this threshold. And it's a big decision. And I'm telling you, don't do it alone. I started to do it alone and it didn't go very well, right? The unfolding was painful. I had my own coach. I'll put it that way. I had my own coach. I needed support for sure because it was so loud. Okay. So the desire sessions, it's a private threshold for you to walk across, to stop abandoning yourself. You get a 30-minute call to see if this is something you would want to step into, and then we commit to the 90-minute call plus the additional items that you get with the desire sessions. But here's the thing. It is so much more than just this one-on-one. It is about what you're feeling and what you desire and what you're afraid to step into. You are standing at that threshold and you are ready. So in the description below, I'll add a link and we can talk more if you would like to consider the desire session. If that doesn't feel right yet, Another option would be to join my Whisper List Inner Circle. And this is an intimate paid circle for devotion, embodiment, and desire. And it is really a way to hear about my retreats first. What are my retreats all about? Why would you want to go on them? Where we're going, the theme of each retreat, and what happens at the retreat. Retreats are becoming a necessity in our world today. They're no longer a luxury. And the great thing is I have different levels of retreats. If you're in the Whisper List Inner Circle, you'll hear about that before anybody else. And you also get the early bird price to all of the retreats. Plus so much more. It has to be a calling. I'm not really interested in just offering a free PDF to lure you in. I really want to hold the container for women who are really looking for this. That is my desire. So, in ending today's podcast, thank you first for listening all the way to the end. Check out the description where you'll get the links to both of these, the Desire Sessions and the Whisper List. And I will see you next week on the podcast, She Who Unbecomes. So bye for now. Aha.